is Thursday, January 7. Welcome to CGN News. 4 people are dead after a mob of Trump supporters, urged on by the president himself, descended on the U.S. Capitol building to try and stop Congress certifying Joe Biden's election win on Wednesday. Anarchy broke out at the symbolic home of Western democracy after Trump urged supporters at a Stop the Steal rally outside the White House to march on the Capitol, multiple sources report. One woman was shot dead inside the building as Trump supporters ran riot, looted, clashed with security, and broke into offices, forcing Congress to be suspended as politicians ran for cover under armed guard. 3 other people died from medical emergencies as Joe Biden urged Trump to go on national television to end the siege. The National Guard eventually restored order and Congress returned to seal Biden's election victory. Reports have emerged that Trump's own cabinet are now considering using the 25th Amendment to declare him unfit for office before his term ends at noon on January 20. The desperate last-minute bid by Donald Trump to overturn his election loss sparked chaos and accusation of a coup attempt, with several countries calling on Trump's supporters to show calm and restraint. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres was saddened by the breach of the U.S. Capitol building, while Canada's Prime Minister Trudeau said Canadians were, quote, deeply disturbed and saddened by the attack on democracy in the United States, our closest ally and neighbor. Violence will never succeed in overruling the will of the people, end quote. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson condemned the disgraceful scenes and urged a peaceful transition to Democrat Joe Biden's presidency. New Zealand's Foreign Minister Nanaia Mahuta said the events in Washington were a source of regret, and Australia's Prime Minister Scott Morrison condemned what he described as, quote, very distressing scenes in the U.S. Congress. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is calling on churches across the island to help develop the, quote, hardware of Jamaicans as the next phase to tackle crime in Jamaica. Speaking at yesterday's National Day of Prayer at the Power of Faith Ministries in St. Catherine, Holness expressed concern about the savagery of some of the criminal acts that have been committed. Holness noted that $40 billion has been spent to develop the software and hardware of the national security architecture over the last 4 years, but said more effort is needed to develop the hardware. Jamaica has recorded 14 murders since the start of this year, a figure slightly above that of last year. The body of hotel mogul Gordon Butch Stewart arrived in Jamaica Wednesday on board his Sandals aircraft, a report in the Gleaner stated. Stewart, 79, died in the United States on Monday following what his son Adam said was a health diagnosis which was kept private. Adam, the deputy chairman of the Sandals Group, said, en route to the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay, St. James, the pilots flew low along the north coast of Jamaica. Quote, from the shores, our incredible team members got to salute their leader from our beaches this one last time, end quote, he said. He tweeted pictures of Sandals' private aircraft that carried the body along with the caption, quote, welcome back home, Dad, end quote. A new Venezuelan parliament was sworn in Tuesday with President Nicolas Maduro's party in firm control and opposition leader Juan Guaido officially without a job. The new assembly was denounced as a fraudulently elected body by outgoing U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who said in a statement Washington recognized Guaido as the legitimate president of Venezuela. A total 256 of the National Assembly's 277 seats are in the hands of Maduro's United Socialist Party of Venezuela and its allies after the December 6 elections boycotted by the opposition claimed fraud. The chamber previously had an opposition majority with Guaido as its speaker since 2019. Guaido plans to maintain a parallel parliament of shadow opposition lawmakers. The Democratic Party of U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has won control of the Senate and of Congress overall, with 2 victories in the state of Georgia. Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff defeated Republican incumbents Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, respectively. Democrats will control the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the White House for the first time since 2009. An estimated 4 million Georgians turned out to vote in the runoff election. The Georgia election was rerun because none of the candidates in the November general election achieved the 50% needed for victory under state rules. Raphael Warnock, a Baptist pastor, has become the first black senator for Georgia, a slavery state in the U.S. Civil War, and only the 11th black member of the Senate in U.S. history. Warnock paid tribute to his mother, Verlene, who as a teenager worked as a farm laborer. Quote, "The other day, because this is America, the 82-year-old hands that used to pick somebody else's cotton went to the polls and picked her youngest son to be a United States Senator," end quote, he said. In a very tight race, Warnock defeated Senator Kelly Loeffler by a projected 50.7% to 49.3%, figures from the Associated Press indicate. Donald Trump has been suspended from Twitter and Facebook after tweeting to supporters who attacked the U.S. Capitol. In a social media message to protesters, he said, quote, "I love you," before telling them to go home. He also repeated false claims about election fraud. Twitter said it required the removal of 3 tweets for severe violations of its civic integrity policy. The company said Trump's account would remain locked for good if the tweets were not removed. It means Trump's days on Twitter could be numbered, as he is not known for paying attention to Twitter's community guidelines. Meanwhile, Facebook banned Trump for 24 hours and YouTube also removed the video. Trump supporters stormed the seat of U.S. government and clashed with police, leading to the death of 1 woman. As hundreds of supporters of Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol wreaking havoc, politicians and activists drew comparisons between the police response on Wednesday to that of last year's Black Lives Matter protests. The death of George Floyd in May of 2020 prompted hundreds of protests nationwide over the summer. In many cities, including the nation's capital, police met protesters with tear gas, violence, and arrests. However, Wednesday's protests, many pointed out, were different. The Black Lives Matter Global Network described Wednesday's riots to CNN as a coup. The group said it was one more example of the hypocrisy in our country's law enforcement response to protest. Quote, "Make no mistake, if the protesters were black, we would have been tear-gassed, battered, and perhaps shot," end quote, the group said in a statement reported by CNN. That's it for CGN News. I'm Scott Wilson. Thanks for watching.